In 2043, the first fully immersive VR MMO virtual reality game was launched. The game could simulate all 5 senses and had features every gamer dreamed of, so naturally, any regular college student would want to get their hands on it. Reiji Mukudori, about to start college, finally gets the game 2 years after its release. One night, he decides to leave the real world behind and dive into the world of infinite dendrogram, falls asleep, and enters the virtual world. Reiji finds himself in a library where he meets Cheshire, control AI number 13, who appears as a talking cat. Cheshire asks Reiji to pick a player name, and he chooses Ray Starling. Next, she asks him to design his character's appearance and clothing. After a few minutes, Reiji finishes creating his character, and his look changes. Cheshire then grabs a book from the shelf and asks him to select a companion to join him on his adventures. After considering his options, Reiji picks the best one for himself, and chooses the Kingdom of Alter as his in-game nation. Smiling, Cheshire congratulates Reiji, on finishing his character creation and sends him into the multiplayer world to start his adventure. Ray suddenly finds himself in space, falling toward the Kingdom of Alter. Luckily, he isn't hurt when he lands. He gets up and starts heading toward the Kingdom of Alter. Following the directions on his screen, he sets out to find Shu, his in-game brother. On the way, he runs into a level 210 NPC named Lillian. Ray stumbles and gets hurt, but Lillian helps him. She explains that she's searching for her sister Miliane and is worried because she can't find her. She gives Ray her contact info and runs off to continue her search. Ray looks at the information and suddenly receives a quest to help Lillian find her sister. Ray continues his search for Shu and eventually finds him wearing a bear costume, playing with kids by a fountain. Ray approaches Shu, who finishes entertaining the kids before talking to him. After introductions, Shu explains who Lillian is. She's a famous NPC with a ton of devoted followers. Ray shows him the note Lillian gave him. Shu flips it over and finds another message on the back. They read it and realize they need to head to an abandoned orchard called Old Rev Orchard to find Miliane. The quest is dangerous, but they have to find her before she dies because if she does, she won't come back to life. Ray and Shu arrive at the orchard to begin the quest. Before entering, Shu makes Ray join his group so they can watch each other's backs. Ray then asks Shu what happens when players die in the game. Shu explains that unlike NPCs, players who die are banned from the game for 24 hours. Inside the orchard, they find Lillian protecting her sister from giant bugs. Shu pulls out a machine gun and takes out all the bugs, saving both women. While they're celebrating and introducing themselves, Shu warns them that they're not out of danger yet. Suddenly, 4 demi-dragworms burst through the ground and attack Shu. When one of the worms targets the sisters, Lillian steps in front and begs Ray to protect Miliane. Ray grabs Miliane and runs to safety. He learns that Miliane came to the orchard to gather ingredients for her sister's birthday cake. It's her birthday. While running, a dragworm bursts from the ground and attacks Ray. He dodges the attack and hides Miliane before facing the worm head-on. To survive its attacks, he keeps chugging his dragon scale protection potion. The worm notices Miliane trying to escape and goes after her. Ray steps in to save her again, but ends up pinned against a tree. The worm charges at them. At the last second, Ray summons his embryo, or companion, for help. She appears just in time, transforming into a sword that Ray uses to kill the worm. After the fight, the embryo introduces herself as Nemesis. Miliane reunites with her sister and thanks both Nemesis and Ray. Shu emerges from underground and joins them. The quest is completed, and they receive their reward, a remberry. Ray happily accepts the gift and takes a bite. In a secluded area, a group of villains is discussing their failed attempt to take down powerful Tyans. Their initial plan to poison Miliane with remberries fell through when all the remberries mysteriously vanished from the shops. As a backup, they sent demi-dragworms, but that plan also failed. Frustrated by their defeat, one of them is particularly impressed by the bear's strength in defeating nearly 100 demi-dragworms. Even more shocking is that Ray Starling, a jobless level -0 player, managed to defeat one of these formidable creatures, proving that even the weakest can have a lucky day. Meanwhile, Ray and Shu celebrate Ray's successful completion of his first quest at a top-tier restaurant, enjoying a meal prepared by a renowned chef. During dinner, Ray gets notifications about his real-life needs, like hunger and the urge to use the bathroom, reminding him of the game's immersive realism because even in a virtual world, Ray can't escape basic bodily functions. He logs out briefly to take care of his needs, much to Nemesis's annoyance. When he returns, they continue their meal. Ray, ever the master of obvious questions, asks about embryo evolution, learning that Nemesis, as a maiden embryo, will likely stay in her human form but may evolve in other ways. Shu explains the embryo ranking system, with superior embryos being the highest rank, achieved by only a few players. Curious about Shu's past with Liliana, Ray learns about the war between the Alter Kingdom and the Drife Imperium. Shu recounts how Alter lost a significant portion of its territory, many Tyans, Oni-Chans and their king due to the absence of the kingdom's top-ranked players, including himself. Liliana resents Shu because her father, the last Knight Commander, died in the war, and Shu didn't participate due to maintaining his real-world identity. Ray is shocked by the severe consequences of Alter's loss, including player emigration and ranking reshuffles. Shu hints at another possible attack from Drife, stressing the need to prepare for future battles. Determined to become a ranking player, Ray sets his sights on leveling up and finding a suitable Joba lofty goal for someone who just figured out how to log in and out of the game. Shu introduces him to the suitable job diagnostics catalog, which helps players identify the best job for them. Ray is surprised to find he qualifies for the high-ranked job of Paladin, a rare achievement for a beginner. To become a Paladin, Ray must meet 3 requirements: defeat at least 50% of demi-dragon class boss monsters, donate 200,000 lire to the church, and get a recommendation from a key knight or related figure. Reflecting on his recent quest, Ray realizes he's already received a recommendation from Liliana, fulfilling the final requirement. With the necessary conditions met, Ray prepares to embrace his new role as a Paladin. After meeting with Liliana, he officially receives the recommendation and is knighted. Shu encourages Ray to keep leveling up and offers his support, because let's face it, Ray's going to need all the help he can get. Nemesis expresses her excitement about Ray's progress and her desire for more battles, highlighting her combative nature. Ray tests his newfound abilities as a Paladin, quickly gaining 3 levels and learning new skills, including a powerful recovery spell that proves crucial in aiding others. Spotting 2 struggling players nearby, Ray offers assistance without being too intrusive, though subtlety isn't exactly his strong suit. With a simple chant, he sends a wave of healing energy their way. The first player, relieved, thanks him, and the second player also expresses gratitude. Ray introduces himself, mentioning he just started Dendro yesterday. One of the players, Rook, says he also joined yesterday, while the other, Bobby, introduces herself as Babylon, revealing her embryo type as Guardian. Nemesis is surprised by the humanoid appearance of Bobby's Guardian embryo, admitting she couldn't help but stare due to its rarity. She introduces herself as a Maiden Arms type embryo, adding a competitive edge to the conversation. Rook and Bobby explain that Bobby is a succubus, which intrigues Ray and Nemesis because Ray's knowledge of game lore is about as deep as a puddle. They decide to go out for tea as a gesture of thanks, enjoying delicious peach tarts and an odd addition: hot sauce. True to her name, Babylon has a unique way of eating, amusing Ray and Nemesis. As they part ways, Ray suggests they form a party someday, and Rook and Bobby eagerly agree, solidifying their newfound friendship. Ray then focuses on leveling up, determined to reach level 13, but they suddenly encounter an unexpected threat. Nemesis alerts Ray to the danger, and Ray prepares for battle with counter-absorption. A mysterious creature appears, and Ray quickly realizes it's not a typical monster but a monster-shaped embryo, a guardian. Chaos erupts as players scream, and Ray identifies it as a PK, a player killer. Nemesis urges Ray to retreat, and he bolts, casting first heal on himself as he escapes. He figures out that the Guardian attacking him is part of a high-rank offshoot called Type Legion, known for swarming but with individually weak units. Ray manages to fend off the attackers but is ultimately overwhelmed and dies, facing the harsh penalties of the game: login restriction and severe in-game consequences. Upon his return, Nemesis apologizes for their defeat. Ray reassures her, taking responsibility for not being strong enough for a rare moment of self-awareness. Nemesis confesses her fear of losing Ray forever if he hadn't been a player, highlighting their emotional bond. Ray acknowledges their shared vulnerability, but emphasizes their determination to grow stronger together and seek revenge. Nemesis agrees, driven by the desire to never be separated again. Later that night, they head to the Tomb Labyrinth, the only place free of player killers. Despite the high entry cost, Paladins get free access. Inside, Nemesis struggles with her fear of ghosts, chanting mixed prayers in a comically desperate attempt to ward off her fears. Monsters attack, and Ray reassures Nemesis, promising to use her to fight them off because delegating the hard work is clearly Ray's forte. As they battle through the labyrinth, they're suddenly attacked by an unknown entity. Ray and Nemesis brace themselves to fight, only to discover it's another player, initially mistaken for a monster. The player introduces himself as Figaro, a top-ranking figure known for his solo endeavors and arena battles. Figaro praises Ray for his resilience, likely wondering how such a clueless player survived this long, and invites him to an arena bout in the future. Ray accepts the challenge, eager to level up and prove himself. Figaro hints at the dangers outside the labyrinth, encouraging Ray to prepare for upcoming challenges. They part ways, and Ray returns home to Nemesis, rubbing her down as he promised, because keeping promises to his embryo is Ray's one true talent. The next day, Ray's kicking back with Rook and Bobby, hashing out their latest missions. Suddenly, this woman in a suit crashes their coffee klatch. She introduces herself as Marie Adler, a journalist from the Dendrogram Information Network. They're like, okay, spill the tea, but she's all about that cash first. After they cough up the dough, Marie lays it on them about the 4 top-tier players linked to the Alter Kingdom. These heavy hitters, King of Destruction, Figura, Tsukuyo, and Le Liare, famous for wiping out bully clans who get their kicks harassing other players. Marie whips out this magic orb thing and fires it up to show what these 4 badasses are up to right now. First, they peep a bully clan cornering some poor sap who's trying to wriggle free. After they snag the player, their leader ices him and jacks his game points. While they're celebrating their scummy victory, one of their goons, Joke Alpha, starts to report new targets, but he gets cut off mid-sentence. Boom, he's gone. In a blink, the rest of the player killer clan gets taken out, quick and clean. The leader and his 3 remaining flunkies brace themselves for a showdown. Then Figura shows up, all red battle chains blazing, and takes out the followers before going toe-to-toe with the leader. The leader tries to sweet-talk him, then throws down a heavy-duty gravity spell to flatten Figura. But Figura is too slick, he jumps sky-high before the spell can fully kick in. The leader, totally blindsided by this, gets smashed into the dirt. Game over. Ray, Rook, and their embryos are glued to the screen, blown away by how fast it all went down. Marie tweaks the orb to show what's happening in the east. There, they see the Lunar Society and their boss, Tsukuyo Fuso, rolling up on some ruins where runaway players are holed up. She throws her hand up, and bam, daylight turns to night. Her priests then swarm the exposed runaway players, wiping out the rogues. Ray's like, seriously, why would the devs throw in such a weird character? Marie mumbles some excuse and then shows them the 3rd superior player, Lele. They watch Lele tearing through bandits in the forest, protecting her peeps. The last one, the real deal, is a stone-cold eliminator. Marie plays the video, showing everyone the mysterious King of Destruction. Even though this player wrecked the entire northern forest, some players actually made it out alive. After breakfast, Ray and Nemesis head north to check out the fire-ravaged ruins. While they're poking around, Nemesis spots an invisible barrier and slips right through. Ray follows, finding himself in some high-tech room with Cheshire. He chills with Nemesis and Cheshire, and they serve him tea. Cheshire's all surprised they stumbled upon this glitch. She explains the devs stuck her there to analyze the environment, hoping to rebuild or restore what the fire trashed. After tea time, Cheshire finds out they're heading to Gideon and warns them to watch out for the ogre before they split. Next scene, Ray and Rook are back in the library, geeking out over weapons with their embryos. Bobby and Nemesis both dig up some juicy missions, but their masters are like, nah, let's not get our faces ripped off right now. Marie pops in and helps with their research. Then they find a level 2 quest that's right up their alley and decide to go for it. They bounce from the library, promising to kick off their quest together the next day. Meanwhile, some travelers are trekking to another land when they run into a bunch of goblins. They manage to shake off the goblins, but then, bam, they fall into a trap set by the infamous ogre. Talk about a bad day. The next day, Ray and Rook, along with their embryos and Marie, are cruising across the land to hit up their next quest. Along the way, they spot some travelers duking it out with goblins and decide to lend a hand. Marie's like, look, my journalist skills are useless in a fight, but I can help you rack up those sweet experience points. Ray gets his crew ready to throw down with the goblins. Rook unleashes his 3-headed rhino, Marilyn, who charges in, headbutting goblins left and right. Then they hop off their chariot to mop up the rest of the monsters. Bobby hits level 2 and gives her master the heads up. Meanwhile, Ray's still rocking his level 1 nemesis, hoping she'll level up soon. Suddenly, a unique boss monster shows up, ready to rumble. Judging by its looks and build, Ray figures it's gotta be the notorious ogre monster, Gardrandha. Gardrandha flexes, farting out poisonous gas all over the place. Ray and the other travelers get hit and are weakened by the poison. Marilyn tries to help, but Gardrandha slams him into next week. Ray staggers up and blocks Gardrandha's next swing. While he's using his first heal, Marie slips him an elixir that makes him immune to all poison for 180 seconds. Ray pulls himself together and whacks Gardrandha's leg, but Gardrandha doesn't even flinch and keeps coming at Ray. Ray dodges and weaves until the Crimson Rockbird, Grandrada's buddy, swoops in for an attack. Rook and his embryo rush to deal with the bird while Ray keeps tangling with the ogre. With only 10 seconds left before the elixir wears off, Ray gears up for one last shot. He leaps into the air and nails the ogre, blowing its head and chest to smithereens. But Grandrada's still kicking. Ray then remembers Cheshire's tip-off the ogre's heart is in its stomach. Just then, the elixir poops out and Ray's back to square one. But it doesn't last, because Nemesis shifts gears and powers up, jumping from level 1 to level 2. Ray dodges Grandrada's attack at the perfect moment and gets ready to strike back, now with extra oomph. He feels his strength surging back, realizing this is one of Nemesis's new level 2 perks. He unleashes a move called Vengeance is Mine, and finally smashes the ogre's stomach, right where its heart is, taking it down for good. Ray collapses right after the win. Marie rushes over and gives him an elixir to patch him up. She fills him in on the high-level player who was lurking nearby. Just then, Rook and his embryo stroll back with the Crimson Rockbird, which they've somehow managed to tame. One of the elder members of the traveling group comes up and hands Ray some goodies as a thank thank you for saving their bacon. Then, Ray watches with his buddies as the Tian people bury their dead. It's so realistic that Ray's mind is blown by how the game devs pulled it off. Somewhere else, a dude in glasses is watching Ray's progress in the game. He cracks a smile seeing Ray first take down drag worms and then beat a full-blown UBM. He's itching to see how Ray will keep leveling up in the gaming world. The next day, Ray and his crew are strolling through the streets, checking out merchants hawking their wares and food to folks from all over. They score their reward of 1 million lire game points for slaying the ogre and divvy it up. Ray and Nemesis split from the group to train. Ray tries out his new weaponsome fancy fighting gloves on a goblin that pops up. His first few attempts are epic fails, with his attacks backfiring and hurting himself. During his break, Ray leans against a tree to recharge. Then they bump into a weirdo in a penguin costume who calls himself Flamingo. Flamingo offers Ray an elixir, and when Ray chugs it, animal ears sprout on his head. Ray whips out his sword and threatens to turn Flamingo into a rotisserie chicken unless he gets rid of the ears. Flamingo says the effect will wear off in 10 hours and scampers off, leaving Ray wondering how this bizarre penguin dude knew his name. Ray's back in town, and Marie's already drawing him with his new animal ears, asking how he got stuck with dog ears. He spills the story, and she's digging the look. Ray's gotta hit up Alejandro's shop, but he's sweating bullets about these ears. Marie tells him to chill, so he heads over with Nemesis. At the shop, he bumps into Rook and Bobby, who instantly clock the dog ears. Ray's like, "How'd you know?" And Rook claims he's a mind reader. Ray's eyeing Rook's coat and decides he needs one too, so off to the clothing store he goes. After snagging his own coat, Ray spots a crowd, lined up for a gacha machine, hoping to score some black balls. He drops 200,000 game points for a ball, and then heads to the fields. He cracks it open and boom, he's got the Prism Steed, Zephyrus Silver, a seriously special horse. Ray tries to hop on, but the armored beast ain't having it, and he eats dirt before they even move. Turns out, he needs the running skill before he can ride. Reiji logs out to do some digging. He hits up the game's fandom page and finds out he needs 100,000 lire for the riding skill. Back in the game, he's wandering around, scrounging for ways to make some cash. He stumbles upon some bandits harassing a woman. Just then, a level 126 player, Hugo, shows up to play hero. The bandits jump Hugo and, shockingly, beat him down. Ray leaps in and takes out one of the thugs with his miasma flame bracers, sending the others packing. He patches up Hugo with first healing and they get to chatting. Hugo's a master and high driver player, while Ray's a paladin player and master. The woman thanks them and begs them to rescue her brother from the Guzme's gang, who are notorious for kidnapping and killing kids. Ray and Hugo agree to help, no charge. The woman thanks them and takes off. Right then, another master named Psycho rolls up, hauling 2 unconscious bandits. She knows Hugo and gives him a shout out. Then she spots Ray and calls him a lowly lover because his embryo is tiny. Nemesis gets into a spat with Psycho, but it's over quick. Soon after, they get the quest to save the woman's brother. They head to the forest, where Hugo reveals a hidden trapdoor leading to his weapon, Magingear. He hops in and uses it to warp everyone to the gang's hideout. Before they go in, Hugo lays out the plan. They find the kids while he takes on the bad guys. As they're prepping, they spot chariots hauling in more kidnapped kids. Hugo goes after the chariot, giving Ray and Nemesis the opening they need to sneak inside. Inside, Ray and his sword Nemesis find a bunch of undead zombie kids, their souls twisted by dark magic. Ray uses his fire to purify them, setting their souls free. He gets the same eerie feeling he got watching the Tians bury their dead. This game feels way too real. Still, he keeps looking for the other kids. Deep in the hideout, the gang leader's watching Hugo wreck his men outside. He sends his giant second-in-command, strong gladiator Goose to deal with Hugo. Hugo goes at Goose with his sword but gets overpowered. Goose is a beast. Goose pulls out human heads from his pouch and chows down, boosting his strength. This pisses Hugo off and he gets back on his feet. Then, Psycho merges with his machine, creating a mega machine. Hugo opens a glowing door and leads the monster through it to continue their brawl. Meanwhile, Ray finds the dungeons where the kids are locked up. He spots a kid lying in a circle of blood. Ray, not suspecting a thing, approaches the kid and gets shanked by the little faker who was just playing possum. Ray's sprawled out on the floor, barely hanging on, when the real head honcho of the gang shows up, bragging about how a kid took Ray down. This guy morphs into some kind of centurion wannabe and spills the beans on his evil plan for the kids. He's gotta off the children to become the immortal king of corpses and finish up this crystal of resentment thing. Hearing this, Ray gets a second wind, slices his hand, and basically swears to obliterate the leader. They throw down, and the gang leader tries to freeze Ray with a spell. Ray busts out of it and keeps wailing on the monster. The gang leader pulls a disappearing act with a smokescreen and bolts from the building, but Ray's hot on his heels and catches up outside. The gang leader calls for his goon, Goose, but instead Hugo rolls up in his souped-up machine. The leader turns around to see Ray staring him down. Figuring he's not going down today, he whips out a piece of that almost finished resentment enchantment crystal and uses this deadly mixer attack to try and knock Ray off his feet. It totally flops, and Ray ends up taking out the leader with his bare hands. After the fight, Ray collapses from some kind of backlash. Luckily, Hugo's got some magic juice and holy water. Ray chugs some and gets his mojo back. Just then, Kryko splits from Hugo's machine and floats down. She joins the crew as they rush into the hideout to save the rest of the kidnapped kids. Not far from the hideout, the gang members who bailed find their boss's stash. Gold coins spill out everywhere, and they're stoked. One of them finds this weird red egg-shaped thing and grabs it. Big mistake. The thing goes off, wiping out all the gang members there. Then, it turns into this massive, one-of-a-kind boss monster, Goose. Ray and the others bust out of the hideout with the rescued kids, only to find Goose tearing the place apart. When Goose goes after one of the kids, Ray jumps in to stop him. He tells Hugo and the others to find a ride and get the kids out of there, while he holds Goose off. The plan works, but Ray's got a major problem. Goose can now heal himself. With no spells left to counter that, Ray's stuck dodging Goose's attacks and just trying to stay alive. Ray and his sword, Nemesis, cook up a plan to take down Goose with just a few hits. When the time is right, Ray ducks Goose's attack and blasts him with his special purgatory flame. Goose gets back up and chases after the kids. Ray summons his horse gear and catches up to Goose. He slices Goose's legs to slow him down and chucks the lich at him to keep him busy. While Goose is distracted, Ray goes for the leg. As Goose goes down, Ray moves in for the head chop, but Goose saw it coming and uses deadly mixer to blast Ray into next week. Ray's out cold, leaving Nemesis to fight Goose solo. Nemesis tries everything, even using all her potions to wake Ray up, but nothing's working. She decides to stand and fight Goose to buy Ray some time. Meanwhile, Ray's dreaming about his older brother Shu, who had an accident while saving Ray from certain death. In this locker room dream, Ray remembers his brother's pep talk before his MMA tournament fight. Ray finds himself in this white room with a shadowy figure. When Ray tells it to show itself, it turns into this gorgeous brown-skinned woman who calls herself Grandara. Meanwhile, Nemesis is trapped fighting Goose. Out of options, she's just hoping Ray wakes up before she's toast. Luckily, Ray snaps out of it, stronger than ever. Nemesis turns into Ray's sword, and together they finally take Goose down for good. The developer watching Ray's progress cracks a smile at his win. On the way back to town, Nemesis asks Ray if he'll ever ditch Infinite Dendrogram. Ray says he's not sure yet, but for now, he just wants to save everyone he can. Later that night, Flamingo, the dude in the penguin suit who gave Ray the dog ears, meets up with Hugo and Psycho under a bridge to chat about Ray. Flamingo reveals he managed to bug Ray. He tells Hugo not to sweat it and says the upcoming war will only have a few casualties. It's a bright sunny day, and some bandits are eyeing a group of nobles passing through their turf. They're gearing up for an ambush, totally clueless that Master Shunyu and his buddy Kang are riding in those carriages. When they open fire on Kang, Shunyu casually snags the bullet and flicks it away. Then, Eldridge, the self-proclaimed king of burglary and the local bandit boss, struts out in front of the carriages, ready to rumble. He tries to use his fancy takeover power to jack the whole caravan, but Shunyu hops out of the carriage and, in a flash, yanks out Eldridge's heart. The rest of Eldridge's crew freak out and try to blast Shunyu, but he's too quick. He zips behind them and takes them all down in a heartbeat. Meanwhile, Ray and Nemesis are chilling, chatting about their latest scores and loot. Nemesis is taking a bath before they head out to meet Marie. Once she's done, they meet up with Marie at a restaurant. Marie spills the beans that she's been playing the game for a year, gathering intel the whole time. She gets nosy and asks Ray about his weak spot. He tells her, and she dishes out some advice on how to beef up his skills. Then they turn the tables and ask Marie about her embryo. She gets all flustered and starts rambling, totally clueless about what to say. Just then, Rook and Bobby show up, and Marie excuses herself to grab something. She comes back with an invite to a showdown between two big-shot players, Sun Yu and Figura. While they're waiting for the duel to start, Ray heads to the Adventurers Guild to collect his reward, leaving Rook to have a heart-to-heart with Marie. Ray scores a whopping 8 million lire for taking down Goose solo. He feels like it's way too much and wants to spread the wealth. He leaves the guild and bumps into his brother Shu, who's decked out in a bear costume looking after some kids. While they're catching up, a master interrupts them to pick up her embryo, a porcupine she's dubbed Behemoth, and then takes off. Nemesis gets a weird vibe from the lady in her embryo but shrugs it off. Next, Shu, Ray, and Nemesis hit up a diner for some dessert. Ray shows Shu the invite and asks if he's going to the fight. Shu says he's in and gives Ray props for taking down 2 UBMs so early in the game. He starts reminiscing about the good old days when he and Figura were newbies, smashing UBMs left and right. He soon heads off to his next gig. Nemesis grills Ray about Shu's job, and Ray explains that Shu hit the jackpot in a lottery overseas and has been living the high life ever since. Later, Hugo and Psycho join Ray for tea. Ray offers to share the prize money, but Hugo only wants a quarter of it. After divvying up the cash, Ray asks Hugo about his kingdom Drife. Hugo spills what he can, and then asks Ray to recount yesterday's brawl with Goose. After the epic tale, Ray gets ready to head to the Master's big fight. As Ray's leaving, Hugo cryptically tells him to remember the word West. First, we catch up with Sunyu, who's playing nurse to Kang, who's down with the flu. Kang's bummed that she can't cheer him on at the tournament. Sunyu decides to bring Kang to Gideon so she can watch him throw down. That night, Flamingo is on the phone with his boss, scheming about the tournament. He mentions he's got a backup plan if their main target doesn't show. He hangs up and settles in to watch the fireworks. Ray and his crew snag some sweet VIP seats and catch the first match between Juliet and Chelsea, two knights duking it out. During the fight, Ray spots his brother Shu sneaking into the stadium hallway. He ditches his seat to follow Shu and finds him having a secret rendezvous with Figura, who's all dressed up in a disguise. Figura strips off his costume and gets ready to brawl. Shu hands Ray a white ring and tells him to bet on Figura to rake in some serious dough. After they split, Figura vows to Shu that he'll crush Shunyu. Right before the big showdown of the superiors kicks off, Ray heads to the betting booth, ready to put some money on Figaro. Luckily, Nemesis stops him from blowing a ton of game points. Just then, Sunyu strolls into the arena, carrying Kang. Ray gets a bad feeling from Sunyu and whips Nemesis into sword form. When Sunyu raises his hand to strike Ray, Shu jumps in and breaks it up. Shunyu recognizes Shu's strength and goes after him instead. Shu blocks the attack, impressing even Shunyu. Shunyu backs off and heads to the arena. When Ray asks about the person Shunyu was carrying, Shunyu fills him in on Kang. After the tense encounter with Shunyu and Kang, Ray and his buddies head back to their VIP seats to wait for the main event. Marie gets super jittery when she sees Shu, worried he might remember something from her past life. But, being the space cadet he is, Shu doesn't have a clue. After the usual pre-fight hype, the tournament gets underway with the announcers calling the fighters to the stage. Sunyu steps up before Figura shows. Once both fighters are ready, and before the brawl begins, the announcers go over the rules and regs. They crank up a barrier around the stage to keep the audience safe from stray hits and kick off the fight. As soon as the bell rings, both superiors start trading blows at lightning speed. The announcers tweak the barrier settings so the crowd can actually see the action. Everyone notices that Figura is playing it safe early on. Sunyu starts to wear down and tries to torch Figura with his purgatory flame. Figura whips up a barrier around himself, blocking all the fire damage. Ray's amazed and asks Shu if that's Figura's embryo power. Shu says it's just a bonus from one of his items. Marie drops some knowledge about Shunyu's ability before things take a wild turn. Suddenly, Figura's shield vanishes and he coughs up blood, collapsing to his knees. Turns out, Sunyu ripped out one of Figura's lungs instead of his heart in an earlier attack. He stands there, waiting to see what Figura will do next. Marie tells the gang she thinks Figura hasn't used his embryo yet, but Shu corrects her, saying he's been using it all along, it just wasn't obvious. That's when Figura gets serious and unleashes his physical berserk ability. He rips off his shirt and goes full-on Rambo mode. After this transformation, Figura gets insanely strong, and Shunyu can feel the shift. Shu finally explains Figura's embryo. It's a heart-shaped piece of gear that protects his ticker and doubles his strength and damage every minute of the fight. With nothing holding him back, Figura summons his ultimate weapon, Zenith Dragon's Brilliant Fang, Gloria Alpha. Shunyu laughs and calls forth his own super weapon. Things heat up as both fighters exchange one last look before charging at each other. In their final showdown, Figura loses an arm and gets a blade through the chest. Protected by his superior embryo, Figura goes all out and chops Sunyu to bits. Figura wins, and the crowd goes wild. Just when everyone thinks the tournament's over, a surprise guest crashes the party. Dr. Flamingo appears, floating above the arena, and sheds his disguise to reveal his true identity. Franklin, a twisted scientist. He shows off his captive, Princess Elizabeth, the kingdom's second princess, and declares that the real game is just getting started. So picture this. Marie stumbles upon some punks harassing a little girl in an alley. She steps in, kicks some serious butt, and saves the day. But before they can even chat, the royal guard shows up, hot on the little girl's trail. The kid begs Marie for a quick escape, and Marie, being the hero she is, scoops her up and ditches the guards. Safe and sound, Marie buys her some cotton candy and asks her name. Turns out it's Elizabeth, the kingdom's second princess, who snuck out of the palace for a solo adventure. Elizabeth then asks Marie to be her sidekick during her little palace vacation to avoid any getting lost or kidnapped shenanigans. Marie's in, and their adventure begins. Fast forward to now, Franklin, that flamingo disguised creep, is standing high above the arena, holding Elizabeth hostage. Mid-speech, some mage in the crowd throws a magic attack at him. Franklin's response? Sending an oxygen slime to, well, dissolve the attacker. The crowd tries to book it, but it's too late. Franklin unleashes a bunch of these oxygen slime monsters he'd stashed around the arena. His challenge? Get the switch from him to stop the slimes from popping up all over town. Ray and his crew hear the commotion from the lobby and go to check it out. That's when they find out they're trapped. Franklin set up a barrier that anyone over level 50 can't pass. Up in the sky, Elizabeth wakes up and demands to know what Franklin's beef with Gideon is. Franklin's grand plan? To piss off the right people and start another war. Elizabeth warns him not to underestimate the kingdom's big shots, the Masters. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Shu and his buddies are scoping things out outside the arena. They find Franklin's goons waiting to ambush anyone who breaks through the barrier. Ray accidentally sticks his hand through and realizes he can pass. Makes sense, he's only level 41. Shu's like, hold up, it's probably a trap, but Ray's not having it. Before he goes, every master there loads him up with protective gear. Just outside, Franklin's men are chuckling about the rewards they'll get for taking down anyone who exits. They have no idea what's coming. Ray slips through, unleashes a poison mist, and blinds them in a thick fog. As the goons freak out, Rook and some other players show up to help Ray kick some rogue player butt. They take down all of Franklin's men, even the hotshot with the Durandal sword technique. Up above, Franklin's showing Elizabeth the master player headcount across the kingdom. Some of his men are yelling for help, getting their butts kicked by the masters. Suddenly, bam, an invisible force, a master without an embryo, slices Franklin's neck. He loses control of his bird, and they plummet. Elizabeth falls too, but the invisible master keeps her safe. Turns out it's Marie, the invisible badass who took Franklin down. She carries Elizabeth on her back and races towards the arena. But, just meters away, Franklin snatches Elizabeth back. Marie swears she'll take him down for good. Instead of a showdown, Franklin points her to one of his minions, the king of orchestras, Velderbel. Marie tracks him down and realizes she's seen him before, during her earlier street encounter. Elsewhere in the city, some of Franklin's crew find Hugo and his main machine. They totally underestimate it and get too close. Hugo combines with Psycho, who uses her freezing ability. Even a special player with fire powers can't resist. Psycho's ability messes with the laws of thermodynamics, freezing him solid. In the real world, before he logged in, Velderbel, the king of orchestras, was living a pretty blah life, always trying to get his message across through music. When Infinite Dendrogram came out, he jumped right in, finding a world where his music could actually matter. He's still using his wards, creating a vibration field that blocks attacks while blasting annoying music. Marie's getting ticked off, admitting they're a terrible matchup. Velderbel says he just wants to see a true hero born. Then he combines his wards to create this super low-frequency, high-volume sound wave that messes up some of Marie's organs. Not the vital ones, thankfully. Working with his servants, he whips up a whirlwind around Marie. Before the game, Marie was a manga artist, but after her contract got axed, she lost her artistic mojo, even when another company hired her. Desperate to find her spark again, she grabbed the Infinite Dendrogram headset the second it came out, diving into this world of endless possibilities. In this virtual world, she chose to be herself, just with a few tweaks. After the whirlwind dies down, Marie uses her ability to erase her existence from the game and attacks Velderbel when his guard is down. He manages to react, partially blocking the damage. Marie pulls out her special gun, loads it with a special bullet, and bang. In his final moments, Velderbel realizes Marie didn't even listen to his last melody. He curses her before biting the dust. Up in the sky, Franklin instantly senses Velderbel's defeat. He's getting hyped for his fight with Ray, excited to face this unpredictable new player. Franklin drops down to street level and meets Hugo at the kingdom's gates. He tells Hugo the royal knights are outside and orders him to stop anyone except Ray Starling from getting through and messing with his knight business. Hugo's on board and lets Franklin pass. As soon as Franklin's out, Lillian attacks him with the Grand Cross technique. He dodges by swapping out his flying bird to take the hit. Then he summons his monster, RSK, to fight the entire kingdom's army. Meanwhile, there's this backstory about Yuri Gautier, a noble whose parents were abusive to her and her sister. Things got so bad that her parents divorced, and she was separated from her older sister. Since that night, Yuri's blamed herself for not being strong enough. She decides to become a knight to protect everyone she cares about. When the game came out, she chose to play as a male character, Hugo, so she could protect helpless women from bullies. Ray and Rook show up with their embryos at the gate, ready to face Franklin. They meet Hugo, asked to pass, but Hugo refuses, only Ray's allowed through. Ray goes through Hugo's barrier, leaving Hugo to face Rook. Once Ray's gone, Rook attacks. He coordinates with his embryo and briefly throws Hugo off. Hugo recovers, ready for a fair fight. Meanwhile, the knights switch their focus from Franklin to RSK. They quickly realize their attacks are doing absolutely nothing. Ray arrives and starts battling the monster. The opening scene spills the beans on Rook's backstory. Turns out his dad was a detective, and his mom, a thief. As a kid, Rook was like a sponge, soaking up skills from both sides of the law and using them to figure out his life. His folks caught on to him mimicking them a bit too much and told him to find his own way, you know, so he wouldn't be totally reliant on them. Rook, being Rook, brushed it off until disaster struck. His parents died in a plane crash. Talk about a gut punch. Suddenly, he's adrift in a sea of what-ifs and now-whats. That's when he stumbles upon Infinite Dendrogram and decides to hit the reset button in this virtual reality game. Now, he's up against his biggest challenge yet, Hugo. During their brawl, Rook's like a freaking psychic, dodging and weaving through all of Hugo's attacks. Hugo manages to land a super freeze attack, but Rook keeps his cool, analyzing the situation like a pro. He clocks that Hugo's machine has this freezing thing going on at regular intervals, but it doesn't mess with embryos. While he's busy playing detective with Hugo's freeze patterns, he leaves himself wide open. Hugo charges in for the kill, but Rook's still stuck in his head, trying to crack the code. Just as Hugo connects, Rook has has his Eureka moment, uses Hugo's kill count to determine the freeze intervals on Rook's body. With Hugo's kill count at 7, there's a 7% chance that 7% of Rook's body will freeze every 13 seconds. Don't look at me, math was never my strong suit. Hugo's impressed by Rook's brain power, but Rook's just simmering with rage towards the guy. He starts trash-talking Hugo, deliberately trying to get under his skin to buy time for him and Bobby to merge. Hugo, all riled up, starts swinging wildly. Right before impact, Rook activates Union Jack and fuses with Bobby, going Super Saiyan and quadrupling his strength. Hugo's suddenly on the defensive. Rook unleashes a flurry of attacks while explaining his whole insult Hugo strategy. Both fighters gear up for one last showdown, and Rook comes out on top. Meanwhile, Ray and the Kingdom's Knights are gearing up to throw down with Franklin and his monster, RSK. Ray knows his odds are slimmer than a supermodel, but he's gonna fight anyway. Franklin, being the showman he is, broadcasts Ray's fight against RSK to the arena crowd and chucks the remote for the barrier. Classic villain move. This forces Ray to beat RSK to stop these oxygen-sucking slimes from chowing down on everyone. Plus, Franklin's got himself surrounded by a barrier that'll only break if Ray takes down RSK. Ray tries to crack RSK's shell with his Vengeance is Mine ability, but it's a no-go, leaving him scratching his head. Franklin starts bragging about his creation, revealing RSK was custom-built to counter Ray. He also admits to sending those nasty dragworms to the orchard earlier. Ray, seeing red over the attempted murder of a little girl, goes ballistic on RSK. When RSK counters, Ray realizes there's another monster pulling the strings from somewhere. This changes everything, and Ray calls for backup from Lillian and another knight. The two knights charge at RSK and use the Grand Cross to blast a hole in its head, revealing the monster lurking inside. Meanwhile, Ray's soaking up MP energy from everyone's fear and turning it into Gardranda's poison mist. He rushes towards the hole in RSK's head and infects it before it can close. Finally, he unleashes his ultimate move, Purgatory Flame Power, burning RSK from the inside out. The arena goes wild as the mighty Franklin is defeated. After taking down RSK, Ray passes out, his arm scorched from the Purgatory Fire's afterburn. Lillian rushes to patch him up ASAP. Franklin, deciding to crank things up to 11, destroys his current remote and whips out a spare. He uses it to activate two mega legendary UBMs, DGP and KOS. With Ray out cold, the Knights and Nemesis have to figure out how to deal with these monsters on their own. Franklin then tries to set off the bombs he'd planted all over the city, but surprise, surprise, they're duds. He quickly figures out why. Marie, the infamous superior killer, had already defused every single one. Hugo and Psycho tell Rook that Franklin's out of options, but Rook's got a hunch that Franklin's still got something nasty up his sleeve. Hugo scoffs, saying Franklin wouldn't do anything that diabolical. Oh Hugo, you sweet summer child, you have no idea. Just when everyone thinks they can breathe a sigh of relief, Franklin unleashes his master plan, releasing 5,000 monsters. He drops the optical illusion covering the area and reveals his superior embryo, the Magic Beast Factory, Pandemonium. He kicks off his reign of terror by unleashing 5,000 human-sized beasts to attack any survivors. Franklin helpfully points out that these monsters are a suicide squad. Even he can't control their rampage. They'll attack anything that moves until they're dead. Nemesis and the Knights are in a total what now situation. Suddenly, Ray wakes up and hops on his horse. He transforms Nemesis into a sword and charges at the monsters. After taking down a few, Ray gets blindsided by a random attack. As one of the bigger monsters lunges at him, Marie swoops in for the save. Learning that Marie is the legendary superior killer, Ray keeps fighting alongside her. Franklin mocks Ray and Marie, thinking there's no way they can take down 5,000 monsters. But then, 20 more master players show up to join the party, and Franklin starts to sweat as his monster army dwindles. Meanwhile, Shu ditches his disguise to get in on the action. He smashes through the stage barrier and joins the fray. Franklin's getting seriously worried now that the players and knights have wiped out about 60% of his summoned monsters. In a panic, Franklin summons DGP, one of his legendary UBMs, and sends it after the players. After DGP takes out a few players, it beelines for Ray. As Ray preps for a last-ditch suicide attack against the legendary monster, Shu steps in at the last second. He obliterates DGP with a single blow and warns Franklin that he's next on the chopping block. Shu reveals himself as the fourth superior player, the King of Destruction, and keeps tearing through the monsters. Franklin notices that while Shu's STR is maxed out, his AGR is super low. But somehow, he's still moving fast enough to dodge attacks and make split-second decisions, leaving Franklin baffled. Figura explains to Sunyu that Shu's martial arts skills make him a total beast. Sunyu's mind is blown and reminds Figura about the dangerous monster Franklin stashed beneath the arena. To stop it from activating, Sunyu and Figura team up to take it down on the sly before Franklin catches on. Franklin sends oxygen slime monsters to attack Shu, but he wipes them out with a single punch. Then Franklin makes his biggest blunder. He underestimates Shu, thinking he's just one guy. He's shocked when Shu unleashes his battleship and annihilates all the suicide monsters heading for the city. Realizing he's screwed, Franklin decides to go with Plan D, blowing up the arena from below. But plot twist, his plan fails because Figura and Sunyu had already taken down the monster underneath. While Shu and the crew are duking it out on the field, Franklin's jaw drops as he watches Shu, the king of destruction, continue to wreck his prized creation. He's scratching his head, wondering why Shu hasn't gone after his embryo yet. While he's pondering this, Ray shows up on the embryo, riding his Zephyr horse. After getting the lowdown on his brother's arrival on the Pandemonium, Ray takes a breather from fighting to grill Franklin with 3 questions. First, he wants to know what Franklin thinks of the Tians. Franklin lays it out, saying he sees Tians like real-world NPCs, figuring the game's developer was aiming to turn this game into some kind of alternate reality where people could become their ultimate selves. Ray's second question: why would Franklin attack the Tians if he sees the game as similar to the real world? Franklin shoots back that he's sick of losing and being bossed around by someone who doesn't give a damn about him. Before Ray can pop the third question, the Pandemonium gets rocked. Franklin realizes Marie used her concealer ability to sneakily rescue Elizabeth from right under his nose. Knowing he's screwed, Franklin throws in the towel and gets ready to surrender. But then, Hugo swoops in with his Mega Machine to bail out Franklin. Ray and Hugo gear up for their final showdown. Ray sacrifices one of his arms to unleash vengeance is mine, obliterating Hugo and his Mega Machine. With Hugo toast, he charges at Franklin and delivers a knockout punch to the face, killing him and forcing him to log out. After the Pandemonium vanishes, Ray collapses, and the Knights catch him, trying to patch him up. Even though they can't reattach his right arm, Ray cracks a joke, saying he'll just hold his sword with his mouth. This comment makes Nemesis blush, her mind going straight to kissing. And that's a wrap on the epic battle with Franklin. Later, Shu's back in his costume, sharing drinks with Figura and Sunyu, chewing over the battle's aftermath. Sunyu shows them some dirt he snagged from one of the kings of beasts. Meanwhile, a blonde dude approaches Gideon in the Altar Kingdom, all smiles. After logging back in, Franklin boots Hugo from the clan, mentioning that Velderbell already bounced. When Franklin asks Hugo why he came back to help after the betrayal, Hugo starts bawling, admitting he doesn't have a clue. Franklin gives him a pep talk, some advice for the future, and an early birthday present. Outside, Hugo bumps into Psycho, who gives him crap for crying like a girl in front of his real-life sister, spilling the beans that Franklin is actually a woman in real life. After kicking his brother out of the clan, Franklin starts cooking up his next evil plan. At the palace, a knight tells Lady Glandria, the first princess, about Elizabeth's escape. Elizabeth joins Shu, Figura, and the others at the arena to catch Ray and Marie's friendly duel. In the final scene, Reiji wakes up and finds out he got into college. While on campus, he spots a girl in some kind of trance and says hi.